Thanks for watching Twilight on CRTV News. I am Moki Edwin Kinzaka in Yaoundé. The fight between Fecafoot and the Cameroon Professional Football League has been laid to rest following a ruling by the Court of Arbitration for Sports CAS in Lausanne in Switzerland. According to the ruling, General Pierre SEMENGUE is reinstated with a decision of Fecafoot suspending the activities of the Professional Football League that has been declared illegal. We shall discuss that with CRTV Radio Sports reporter or editor Nje Enoebai and possibly Jeff Ngwa. They will be here in Yaoundé. We shall also meet Winston Lebga on the line, live, on the line to Bamenda. We'll begin with the news with Joyce Abigail. Joyce, good evening.
Thank you, Moki.
The National Anti-Corruption Commission, CONAC, has remarked that Douala still has a high rate of corruption compared to other cities in the country.
Yes, Moki, the observation was made during a meeting in Douala to evaluate the level of implementation of the 2018 Regional Action Plan and to develop that of 2021. Details of the story with Lyris Nani.
Political parties have refused to stay on the fence and watch some Cameroonian youth sent to the streets on October 22 to risk their lives. Banda Kani of the New Popular Movement says the state is a permanent construction site and that the state summons the fundamental laws that devote the sovereignty of the Cameroonian people. It is an opinion corroborated by political activist Elimbi Lobe, who thinks that the socio-political life of a people must not be influenced by anarchy. It is an opportunity for me to call on all Cameroonians not to follow the October 22 protest, which is clearly against the organization of a regional election. This is unacceptable. Anissa Kane, president of the African Movement for a New Independence, popularly known in its French acronym as MANIDEM, talks of political irresponsibility. He says for someone who loves in the national anthem, we sing Land of Promise, Land of Glory, Thou of Life and Joy, our only store. It has a meaning, love your country. Political actors in the littoral region have thus called on all Cameroonians to go about their routine activities on September 22.
And those were political leaders there in the littoral region calling on the population to give deaf ears to manipulations that are aimed to destabilize Cameroon. We come back to the story where the National Anti-Corruption Commission, CONAC, has remarked that Douala still has a high rate of corruption compared to other cities in the country. The observation was made during a meeting in Douala to evaluate the level of implementation of the 2018 Regional Action Plan and to develop that of 2021. Details of that story with Lyris Nani.
Fighting corruption in a town like Douala, economic capital of the country, is still a major problem for anti-corruption agents in the littoral who say the business atmosphere with a greater portion of those operating in the informal sector proves a hard nut to crack, as educating citizens to be honest with their dealings is falling on deaf ears. The come together of CONAC's anti-corruption agents in Douala is to assess the 2018 Regional Action Plan and develop that of 2021.
Economic activities in Cameroon basically depend on the results from the littoral and that the existence of the port and other national economic structures. Actors of economic activity in littoral must make the necessary efforts to improve corruption charges. Littoral deserves to serve Cameroon in this aspect.
Challenges faced by these agents in the field were reviewed and recommendations arrived at, to which the anti-corruption agents have resolved on the need to challenge the situation of corruption in the littoral by being exemplary citizens when handling corruption cases, while working for an improvement in the level of corruption in the littoral region.
Cameroonians have been called upon to show responsibility, seriousness, And civic mindedness as COVID-19 is under control but not eradicated in the country. The call was made yesterday here in Yaoundé at a joint conference granted by the Minister of Communication, the Delegate General of National Security, a representative of the Minister of Public Health, as well as a representative for the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development. Here now is an excerpt of the Minister of Communication, Renew Emmanuel Sadi.
It should be indicated that the pandemic remains a major concern for the government of the Republic. Needless to remind that the coronavirus is still present in our country. The government also avails itself of this communication to appeal to the civic mindfulness of our fellow citizens with regard to both strict compliance with the recommendations of the World Health Organization and strict observance of the main barrier measures prescribed by the government, such as the systematic wearing of masks in public places and social distancing.
The Central Region has given a 7-day ultimatum to some people who still reside along the Yaoundé-Douala motorway to leave and relocate to at least 100 meters away. Nasiri Palbia was speaking this morning after holding talks with local authorities and stakeholders of a company in charge of the works. Details of the story with Maimuna Joyer, CRTV Center.
Alliance Committee in charge of works along the Yaoundé-Douala motorway opines that inhabitants must be at least 100 meters away from the road for security reasons. The inspection visit by Governor Nasiri Palbia was therefore meant, amongst other things, to give an ultimatum to some inhabitants of the Matom subdivision to quit the site within a week or face a repressive action.
There are so many people who want to have access into the motorway, but they have to understand that it is a speedy one, and so the access has to be very, very prudent. And so we had to give a warning, strict instructions that they should liberate next week because the time they had to liberate is already over.
The evaluation meeting that preceded the tour, however, enabled officials of the China First Highway Engineering Company to insist on the fact that authorities must tackle the question of accessibility. After lauding their diligence, the governor of the Central Region enjoined administrative and council officials in Lobo and Matom to continue sensitizing the population around the significance of this major project.
Reports from the Ministry of Public Works indicates that at the end of July 2020, Cameroon had barely 6% of the road network. More than half of the work consists of national, municipal, regional roads and highways. For more than 6 years, construction work for some infrastructures have been lagging behind. Titles of the story with Laurel Bataea.
According to a presentation of the Cameroonian road network made by the Ministry of Public Works, as of July 31, 2020, Cameroon had an overall road network of 121,501.5 kilometers long. Report shows that only 7,252.8 kilometers were accomplished at the reference date, represents a rate of 5.9%. More than half of the work, with 4,570 kilometers in the country, consists of national roads, compared to 1,562 kilometers for municipal roads, 142 kilometers for regional roads, and 78.5 kilometers for highways. The rest of the road networks, totaling 114,049 kilometers, is made up of dirt roads. Regarding highways, the 78.5 kilometer linear which appears in the data of the Ministry of Public Works include the 40 kilometer Yaoundé-Bibodi already built of the Yaoundé-Douala Highway intended to link the two main cities from the country. More than 6 years, construction works for the first 60 kilometers of this infrastructure has been lagging behind. The government count also includes the highway under construction between Kribi and Lulabe, that's 8.5 kilometers long in the southern region of the country. This infrastructure will serve the deep sea port of Kribi, commissioned in the southern seaside resort since March 2018.
Now, Joy, Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcisse Mwalikombi has called on FECAFOOT and the Cameroon Professional Football League to work together and respect the decisions of the Court of Arbitration for Sports.
Yes, Maki, he was speaking today during a tripartite meeting, bringing together FECAFOOT and Professional Football League officials along officials of the National Olympic and Sports Committee. Details of the story with Bowden Summer.
Looked more like an appeasement consultation between the Cameroon Professional Football League and the Football Federation, with Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcisse Mwalikombi playing the role of peacemaker. I wish to inform you that the government of Cameroon acknowledges receipt of this decision from the Court of Arbitration of Sports, which as per FIFA rules must be respected and implemented by the different member associations. He called on both parties to be involved for things to return to normal while respecting the decisions of the Court of Arbitration for Sports and avoid tarnishing the country's image. They will have to work together for the different championships to resume and for the country's flag bearers in different CAF competitions to excel. To the Cameroon Professional Football League, he called on them to ensure continuity and find the right strategy to organize professional football championships and ensure the away leg be played before mid-December this year. FECAFOOT was called upon to continue accompanying in the smooth organization of professional football championships in Cameroon under the auspices of the Cameroon Professional Football League, while involving all stakeholders in the organization and practice of football in Cameroon.
That is it for the 6 p.m. edition on CRTV News. My name is Joyce Abigail, and I leave you in the company of Moki Edwin.
Thanks, Joyce.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break before we move on to the central region, where the governor, Nasiri Paul Biya, has asked people who have illegally occupied parts of the Douala-Yaoundé motorway to leave within 7 days. Now, we apparently have some little technical problems out there, but we shall get to our region already. That is in the central region, where, as I said earlier, the governor of the region has given 7 days to people who have illegally occupied roadsides along the Yaoundé-Douala motorway to leave or relocate at least 100 meters from the road. Nasiri Paul Biya was told by companies constructing the road that such occupation has blocked works. Maimouna Njoya, good evening.
Good evening, Moki Edwin.
Now, you have been on this report about the road between Yaoundé and Douala and what the governor has been doing out there. What really is the problem?
Thank you very much, Moki Edwin, for giving me this opportunity to talk about what I really observed yesterday on the field on the Yaoundé-Douala motorway. Actually, there is basically no problem. It should not be as if we are saying that there is a problem. But what we should be saying is that the governor of the Central Region has given a 7-day ultimatum to those who are still around the stretch of this expressway. Actually, stakeholders of the first highway engineering company in charge of the works along the Yaoundé-Douala motorway have realized that some people who are still residing along this stretch are at risk because they are not 100 meters away from the road. So the governor was trying to tell these people who are still along the stretch that they have to go at least 100 meters away in order to for security reasons. So stakeholders of the China First Engineering Company claim that because some of these people are still on the stretch of road that is precisely around Matom in the Nyong and Kele division, So it really refrains their work. So the governor was out to tell them to leave, as they had already agreed on that, and that was it. And also we can add that actually this road project there's also a question of accessibility, as he rightly mentioned. He said inhabitants must not have access to this expressway for the moment if the works have to continue at a normal pace. Moki Edwin, actually, we can estimate that the works have gone at around 92%. So for it to be complete, inhabitants have to collaborate so that it should be complete, and that is why the governor was on the field to reiterate what the Minister of Public Works had already said some weeks back. And
Maimuna and Joya, some people who are along that road said they have legal documents that handed the land to them. Others said they inherited the land from their parents. Have they been compensated?
Globally, the information we have is that they have been compensated, yes. But now, for a few cases, maybe they are still going to be handled by the governor and the SDO of the Fundi division, who had this on his table before Jean-Claude Tila died. Remember, he had this question on his table. But for the most part, a majority of those concerned have been compensated. And when we met them yesterday, they really agreed that they will leave. Some were there till now simply because they had some agricultural activities, some farming activities still carrying out around the place. But just to tell you that this expressway is actually 196 kilometers long. So it is only at the level of Matom, that is around the Matom subdivision in the Nyong and Kele division, that these people are still present around. So they are expecting them, authorities are expecting them to leave the main road so that the works continue normally.
What other activities are they carrying out there, and are they collaborating with the state authorities?
Of course, I think they're collaborating, because from what I observed yesterday personally, the governor had a formal talk with them and they were not like resisting. So we can dare say that they are collaborating with the authorities, and we are just expecting that by next week they must have left, because many of them have left already. So, and also to add that the governor actually told even the authorities to continue collaborating, so that they can continue sensitizing the population. We had the mayor of Lobo, because you know that this motorway covers the Lekie and the Nyong and Kele division of the Central region. So the mayor of Lobo has been summoned by the governor to actually sensitize the local population who are still around this motorway in order for the works to continue normally.
Maimuna and Joya, should the people leave now, as the governor has instructed, when will construction works end?
That will be difficult. That's a question that's actually difficult to answer, Moki. But what I can say from what I observed as a reporter is that stakeholders of the China First Highway Engineering Company have reassured the governor that works are continuing at a normal pace. And if you saw the images before I took to the phone now, if you saw the images, you can actually see for yourself that the works are continuing at a normal pace. But it is actually very difficult to affirm that it is going to end by next month or so. But what we know is that the road is there, and very soon, maybe before the end of this year, normally, things must have been okay. Now, that's what we hope.
Briefly, and before you leave, how important is that stretch of road, is precisely around Matom, where you people visited yesterday?
All right, that's the question many people have been asking. But you should know, Moki, just like many of our viewers, that this motorway is expected to reduce the traffic. Normally, if you observe that people traveling from Yaoundé to Douala had to take about 4 hours to get to Douala if you live in Yaoundé, this motorway is going to enable you to spend just about 2 hours and 15 minutes to get to Douala. That's the first advantage. Next, the traffic is actually flowing. That is why the governor said people should stay away in order for this project to continue. That is, because it is going to benefit the entire country. It is going to also go as far as ease the connection between Douala and N'Djamena, Douala and Bangui in the Central African Republic. So this is a major road project which will not only benefit Cameroonians, but will also benefit the sub-region, the CEMAC sub-region, so to speak.
Maimouna Njoya, thanks very much for being there.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure bringing all these clarifications, even though I would like to say that I might not have been complete, Moki Edwin, but the truth is the motorway, the Douala motorway is well on course, and we shall continue following this news story for you out there. Thank you.
Especially because, as you say, Maimouna Njoya is a very important route that links the sub-region, it links the Central African Republic, it links Cameroon to Chad and maybe neighboring Gabon. Thanks very much for being there. Now,
you're welcome.
We're taking yet another break. When we come back, we shall move on to Bamenda to meet sports reporter and editor-in-chief Winston Lebga to talk to us about the situation of PWD now that the CAS has rendered some judgments that may affect that team. Let's have a break.
Je demande par ailleurs aux personnes testées positives de respecter scrupuleusement les règles de confinement.
Thanks for watching Twilight and CRTV News. PWD Social Football Club of Bamenda will be representing Cameroon in the CAF Champions League. They may feel concerned by the recent decision of the Lausanne-based Court of Arbitration for Sports handling over the management of Cameroon's Professional Football League back to General Pierre SEMENGUE. Let's now move to Bamenda for an update with Winston Lebgan. Winston, how is PWD preparing for their continental outings?
Hello, Edwin, and thanks for linking up with me at the Hilltop Station here in Bamenda. The Abakwa boys resumed with training session on Tuesday, the 8th of September at the Big Mancon Catholic School field. A crowd of people turned out, the fans are always following them. They have a tight schedule ahead of them in the build-up to the start of the new season, which is considered as a very, very challenging one for this club that was created in 1962. They shall be defending their League One title, they shall be competing for the Cup of Cameroon trophy, and they shall also be proving their mettle on the continental scene as representatives of the Republic of Cameroon. At the moment we speak, they are heading towards Limbe, where they have a training camp, after which they shall travel to Equatorial Guinea, where they have a couple of friendly matches on schedule.
Yeah, thanks, Winston. But who are the top players that have signed contracts with PWD Social Football Club of Bamenda?
Yes, Edwin, the management of PWD Social Club of Bamenda has decided to inject some backbone into the squad to make sure that they're able to compete on the three levels that I mentioned earlier. We have the son of legendary left-foot midfielder Louis-Paul Fede, who is remembered for his dribbling skills against Argentina on the 8th of June 1990 in the Italian World Cup. We are talking about Alexandre Fede, aged 26, coming in from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where he played with Racing Football Club of Kinshasa. He has also been a player with Dragon Football Club. They've also signed Vincent Paul Gonji Bomba from Edingsport of the Leke division, that's in the center region. They have the young Central African forward, we're talking about Duhamel Kalamanji Mabenge, who is on a season loan with the option for the Abakwa boys to seal that deal permanently. And of course, Cameroon's international keeper, Hashu Kerido, who comes in from Guinea-Conakry, where he was playing with Industrial Kamsa and was voted the safest hands in that country. He has also played with Astro Football Club of Douala, Unisport of Bafang, and Hachu Querido, who was also a Dragon Football Club player, had one time been best keeper of the Republic of Cameroon. Querido was part of Tony Conceição's Indomitable Lions squad that played against Rwanda prior to the outbreak of the coronavirus. So those are some of the players that I can mention. They are still negotiating with others.
Yeah, Winston, thanks there. The club is really getting set, as we can hear from there. Have they really started their training sessions, and are the players and the supporters anxious about the performance, or what may be the performances of the team?
The fans have attended a few training sessions at the Big Mancon Catholic School field with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of expectations, and we must mention that they are also anxious because some people are already talking about PWD going to face a Waterloo on the continental scene. But Pascal Abunde, the President General of that club, says no, continue to give your support. He applauded the presence of the hundreds and close to thousands of people who turned out for the training sessions they've had in Bamenda, and he's been encouraging them not to let down their guard with regards to supporting their darling club, and has thanked those who have been able to put their hands into their pockets to bring out some money, and that has helped PWD to reach the level they are, and they are determined to defend their newly acquired status, that is champions of Cameroon, the first time since that club was created. So the fans are enthusiastically looking forward to the new season, and they have their eyes on the number of friendly games that have been programmed for this team.
Thanks you very much, Winston. What challenges is that team, PWD Football Club of Bamenda, facing at this particular moment now?
The Abakwa boys have two major challenges at the moment. The first is security. At the moment we are speaking, Bamenda is going through what we have been told is called the Bamenda Clean Operation, that is with defense and security forces tackling the various incursions and violent crimes perpetrated by secessionist fighters. So with the restriction of motorbikes from the urban perimeter of the Bamenda city center, many of PWD's players depend on motorbikes for transportation. So they are usually late for training sessions, and Coach David Pago had on schedule 2 sessions a day, one at 6 a.m., another at 3 p.m. It has been almost impossible to have all the players on the training grounds on time. So they are forced to move out of their base on account of this. Another issue is this problem of lack of infrastructure. Most of the fields on which PWD trains are fields that are kind of seasonal, very dusty in the dry season, very muddy in the rainy season, and currently Bamenda is going through heavy downpour almost on a daily basis, not appropriate for a team that is going to go continental with the likelihood of facing sites like Zamalek of Egypt or Al Ali or Tupisam Mazembe. They need to be training on grounds that are appropriate for their upcoming challenges. So those are the things that have complicated PWD's preparations on their home grounds and has obliged them to move to Limbe, where there is a better stadium for them to fine-tune their skills and test their newly acquired talents.
Quite bad there for PWD. You have watched the team train, and we hear there are friendly matches soon. Can we have a rundown, Winston?
Of course, before leaving Bamenda, PWD had a friendly encounter with a local selection here, whom they beat by 5 goals to nothing. In Limbe, they are to play against Panther of the Day. That's a League One outfit who are also camping in Limbe. Negotiations are still going on. It is yet to be confirmed, but I was speaking with the team press officer, Afesi Apongnu, who assured me that they are doing everything to negotiate and successfully get that friendly against Panther of the Day. They'll be in Limbe for a week before moving to Equatorial Guinea, where they have a friendly game scheduled. I think they have a couple of games to play there, but the main one we've been told about is against the champions of Equatorial Guinea, AS Future, who won the championship of that country, and they'll come back to Yaoundé to face the national team of South Sudan, the Bright Stars, on October the 7th. And they are also involved with a pre-season tournament dubbed Tournoi de Solidarité that will take place in Yaoundé, the Solidarity Tournament. So they have a very, very tight schedule ahead of the new season, as I said earlier.
Maybe just two little questions before we leave us, Winston Lebga in Bamenda. The management of PWD has been asking elite in and out of the Northwest region to support. What has been the reaction?
It depends on its fan base for its ability to produce the results you know about. They have a fan base here in the Northwest. They have a fan club in the Southwest, in the littoral, in the South region, in the East, in the Northern regions. They have a fan club in the United States of America. They have a coordinator of the fan clubs in the Asian regions. And management has been appealing to all those fan clubs to continue to do what they've been doing, has applauded their ability to see to it that PWD emerged champions, and are looking forward to them doubling their efforts and sticking together and not letting down their guard. They've been warning them against that the team must stay together. In fact, if I had to give them a mantra, it would be all for one, one for all. And so the various coordinators of the fan clubs are ready. A series of meetings have been taking place. There have been discussions between management and those fan clubs to see that PWD has a successful season ahead. So the reaction has been positive as they look forward to the new challenge.
Now, Winston, you just stay on in Bamenda there with us. We shall come back to you with the last question perhaps before you leave us. But I am here in the studio with sports editor for CRTV Radio, Njeno Ebai, and the sports guru. Thank you very much for coming, sir. And Jeff Ngwa.
It's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure when you come here, sir.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
You have followed what Winston Lebga has been saying from Bamenda. Maybe you have a reaction to make about the preparation of Bamenda, PWD, and the rest of the things. I start with you, Njay.
Yes, thank you very much, Winston. The first thing is I just want to say PWD of Bamenda actually beat two Pusam Mazembe during the 2003-2004 CAF Confederations Cup. I heard Winston talk there about they not having a good preparation and perhaps it having an impact on how they're going to face the other big teams. Just a reminder that they are giant slayers and they've done it previously and hopefully they'll do it again this time around. I also just want to commend the team. I think apart from the work that the team's front office is doing in bringing in very talented players, I think it's an amazing, wonderful coup signing a goalkeeper like Ashu Kerido, who is, in my opinion, amongst the top talent in the country. And I feel that if Ashu Kerido wasn't playing in the local league and that we didn't have such a talented goalkeeper like Anjonana, he should have been the first choice in the national team. That said, the team is also doing some amazing work on social media, and I think it's important to mention it. You have just two teams in Cameroon right now who are very present on social media. You have Division 2 side, Ofta of Kribi, and you also have PWD of Bamenda. Ofta of Kribi are very vibrant, be it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Which is very important these days.
Which is very important. They're able to really garner the attention of a lot of people and win support, and that's what PWD of Bamenda are doing. We saw a while ago the signing ceremony of Ashu Kerido was really professional, a proper press conference, proper video presentation and everything, and I think it's commendable for PWD.
And you, Jeff Ngwa?
Well, you know that's a very darling team it's so close to my heart, having played in that team before the Molikis and the others came in.
Wow, so this thing is inborn.
Over the years, I've been very present with the team. Goalkeeper Agua, the generation of Marangas were all my friends. And in fact, when PWD came to play in Yaoundé, I was always present. At times they lodged in my house.
Oh, that's good, Jeff. We can trust you for that. Let's go back to Bamenda now, and maybe Winston Lebga, who is standing by, with the last question for you, and it's going to be the subject of our discussion. Winston Lebga in Bamenda, is the team, the PWD Social Football Club, worried about the decision of the Court of Arbitration for Sports that may see their position changed if there is no negotiation, if the calls by the Minister of Sports and Physical Education for some sort of reconciliation and the interest of football to be put at heart is not adhered to? Winston Lebga?
Well, the decision of the Court of Arbitration of Sports has not worried the preparations of PWD Social Club of Bamenda. The President General Pascal Abonde went on Twitter to say that they are serene, they are focused on what lies ahead, and that reinstating the Professional Football League under General Pierre Semenge is not tantamount to cancelling the season that has just ended. So they remain the champions of Cameroon, and they are preparing to defend the country honorably. Pascal Abonde said that, he tweeted, and the fans are ready, the players are training. They have not yet closed their deals on the transfer market. They are waiting the arrival of two Nigerians who are playing in Benin with a team called Isai FC. I'm talking about Hamzat Onota Ibrahim and the young striker Emmanuel Samuel. Negotiations are going on, and the latest I heard from Afesi Apongnui, the team press officer, is that they are waiting those players to arrive in Limbe, and they should be able to make the trip to Equatorial Guinea, where they will be playing the champions of that country and should be part of the Abakwa Boys squad that will face the Bright Stars of South Sudan on October the 7th in Yaoundé, and especially for the pre-season tournament dubbed Tournoi de Solidarité.
Wow, Winston Lebga, thanks very much for being there, for being in Bamenda and keeping us updated. Now, we come back to the studio and talk about this decision of the Court of Arbitration for Sports, that is CAS in Lausanne in Switzerland, which means that General Pierre Semenge has the full right to organize professional football leagues in Cameroon. The complaint was launched on September 3, 2019, and CAS asked FECAFOOT to reimburse 3.5 million to the Professional Football League as charges for the legal proceedings. Now, gentlemen, you've been observing and watching. What can be the likely consequences of this decision to our football, to football in Cameroon?
You know, the Court of Arbitration for Sport is the highest judicial body which takes control of judicial matters as comes to sports. When they take a decision, I think it's almost final, we can say, because there is no room for appeal. The implications are immediate. If they wanted to implement the ruling of that court, it would imply several things. The first one being that the championship which has been organized, or any activity which was supposed to be organized by the professional league, which has been organized, is null and void.
That's from the 18th of October,
from the 18th
2019
of October, when that professional league was suspended. The second implication is that General Semenge was elected in 2016 for a 4-year mandate. Before his suspension, what had he covered as
he had 10
in
months
office?
Left.
He had
10
months left. The 10 months from today, is he going to exhaust the 10 months beginning from the day the negotiations are put in place, or he still has to recover the 2018 sports year which he was supposed to run?
So many complications then, yeah.
Yes, so many complications. I think it's a cacophony and an unnecessary distraction to football, especially at a moment like this when we're gearing up for major continental tournaments. I just want to come back to it. You asked the ramifications that it could have, and there are two. It's a twofold. The first part will be, if this decision is respected, then obviously we can expect to see the championship duly organized, by the Professional Football League in the weeks ahead, because one of the major resolutions at today's gathering was to start the championship as soon as possible and to ensure that by December December this year, half of the championship should have been played, which is something that's very possible, cognizant of the fact that teams play 3 games a week. They play on Sunday, Wednesday, and then Sunday or Saturday. The other implication, the other fallout is if this decision is not respected, and that's the fear, Cameroon could be suspended by CAS from international tournaments, and that's where the problem really lies, because we are going to host the Nations Championship in 4 months, and then there is the Africa Cup of Nations on the horizon in probably 14 months. So it's a risk that the government surely will not want to take, and that's why you saw the sports minister come in and mediate. But the other consequences, if General Pierre Semengue, and I'm very glad that he's willing to consider a few things, and I think that's where he's adding the fatherly touch into it, is if he wanted to go by the ruling and he wanted to have his pound of flesh, like Geoff said, the championship that was organized previously should have been cancelled, because the Court of Arbitration for Sports ruling states that the Cameroon Professional Football League is the sole institution, the only institution that is mandated with staging domestic football championship in the country as from October 2019. What that translates, or what that intimates, is any championship that has been organized within that period by any other person is illegal and non-existent, which, Moki, will mean for PWD of Bamenda that they may not compete in the Champions League. But where they are fortunate is, and I hope that UMS of Loom do not throw themselves into the fold, or else it will become a very shambolic situation, is that the league president, Pierre Semengue, is willing to consider the championship that was played, and also because UMS of Loom duly played the Champions League 2 seasons ago when they won the championship, and when Stade Rennais won the Cameroon Cup.
We're looking, how did Cameroon get there? I mean, how is this thing happening, Jeff Ngwa, from the Tombi Aroko era to it's been trouble all along. What's wrong with football?
The last decade, Moki, our football has been played in offices rather on the pitches. They squabble for power, to take office. And the worst thing in it is the group that happens to come in shared away every initiative that the other ones had put in place.
That has been the tradition there with Pekafoot.
It's unfortunate. I think when the other group comes in, they want to clean the house, and that's
But that's not cleaning. That's not cleaning.
I think it's a if I talk of cleaning the house, it means the others were dirt.
The other one did nothing.
Yeah, they believe that they have to put every structure in place. If you are a partisan to the former team,
you should be dismissed.
You should be dismissed. New faces, and you see over the years, they've been talking of a reduction of employees, manpower, in order to manage the budget conveniently. But you see that it's just a question of changing faces. And that has brought us to this because they wanted to shove away, maybe for one reason, which the executive committee of that 18th of October came in with. They put a number of reasons that the professional league was not accounting for the money that was put at their disposal by government, and that the professional league was not respecting its own statutes, because before the start of every season, a general assembly had to be held. None was held. And I think, irrespective of the fact that they've ticked the Professional Football League right in this case, I think a number of lessons have to be drawn.
We shall get to the lessons, but I'm still asking this to you, Nje. I am a Cameroonian. I watch football. Besides the ball, the players, and the activity around that we see, what specifically is behind football that is attracting so much controversy?
There is a lot of money. You have crazy sums, huge amounts of money that are circulating in football. I give you a very simple example. You have the African Nations Football Championship that is being hosted in 3-4 months, I can tell you that the partners and the government are injecting huge sums of money. And one thing is certain, the man who is at the heart of football at the moment is definitely not having any issues because there's a lot of money to manage. But I also would like to say that it's an issue of selfishness and greed. You have people who obviously claim that they want to help prosper the football, but like Geoff said, it's not that it's a feeling, it's there, it's palpable to see. You have the impression that football is played more in courts. You have the impression that club presidents, football officials are the stars of the game, whereas you have players who week in, week out, dazzle on pitches across the country, but they are not recognized because you have some individuals, and I stand by what I'm going to say, some selfish individuals who have taken Cameroonian football hostage across the board. And when I say across the board, I mean across the board, because a lot of people are blaming the Football Federation. They have a blame to take, but they also are right. Look at the local championship. The past 2 seasons, they didn't have a sponsor. That's before the Football Federation came in. When General Pierre SEMENGUE was the league president, they dropped the sponsorship money and the left. Why is the league is not well structured? In every international organization, sports organization, there's a sort of auditing that's done. I remember a few years ago, General Pierre SEMENGUE said that he wanted to put in place a strategy wherein clubs will be making as high as 100 million francs a year as subvention, I think he was saying, for the top tier clubs, and second tier clubs 50 million. We have never gotten to that point in time. He came up with a very exciting document that was encouraging firms to invest, encouraging multinationals to invest. But who will want to invest in a game that's marred by so many scandals, so many lawsuits, so many problems, so many recurrent cuts?
Rather unfortunate. Now, that's not the only decision that was taken by that sports body, that Court of Arbitration for Sports. There was a second one that has to do with this team in Douala. What reading are you making of it too?
Well, it's the same thing, you know. The same causes produce the same effects. Mr. Faustin Domke was, I think, vice president of the league. And when they decided to go for the playdown, because 2 seasons ago, cognizant of the period they decided to play the league in a particular format. That's the top 6 teams will play a tournament, a round-robin tournament to determine the winner, and the bottom 6 teams will play a round-robin tournament to decide on the teams that will be relegated. When they were going for that tournament, they knew that the guy who wins the round-up tournament will be crowned champions. And eventually, that was UMS of Loom.
That's right.
And they were also cognizant of the fact that the teams that finish in the bottom 3 will be relegated, which is what happened. Now, Mr. Faustin Domke filed the first lawsuit that AS Martello used a player who wasn't duly registered. That lawsuit was rejected. And he filed a second lawsuit to say that the laws governing the league at that period stated that only one team will be relegated, and it's true. But he accepted to play the league knowing that 3 teams will be relegated. And that's when the decision was not respected. He went to the Chamber of Conciliation Arbitration at the level of Cameroon's National Olympic and Sports Committee, and the judgment was New Stars of Douala. The rules were there. Okay, the General Assembly said only one team will be relegated, should be maintained. And Fecafoot were not okay with it. And it's legal, but I side with them in this. Because you go into a championship cognizant that 3 teams will go down, you do your best to stay afloat. If you're relegated, you go into the inferior division and you try to come back. New Stars took that case to court and they've won. What happens? You have 20 teams that are already in the championship, because no team, you have teams that are not going to be relegated, and then you have Astra of Douala. I think that's moving up. You have New Stars of Douala. There are budgetary constraints in the championship. You
mean that 21 teams will go now to...
I think 20 teams will play in the top tier championship next year. The goal, I remember, was to bring down the number of teams in the top tier to about 14 to 12.
If you look make it more competitive and...
And also to ensure that financially it's viable. If you look at the top leagues across the continent, be it the Egyptian league, the Tunisian league, the Algerian league, the South African, the PSL, most of these leagues are averaging between 12 to 14 teams in the championship to make it more. Right. How are we going to compete with
that
this?
Is the question.
Where are we going to get the resources for this?
Jeff, it's difficult hearing this type of complaints coming, but the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcisse Malikombe, has been holding meetings and asking for national interest, the interest of sports to be put. How do you appreciate that type of decision? And do you think both parties are ready to discuss?
I think
Don't you see the general out to revenge because he was humiliated?
They have no choice, Edwin. I think they have no choice because, one, the championship has to go on. We have to kickstart the championship. Regardless of the ruling of the Court of Arbitration for Sport, I think, like Eno said, I think the best thing in this issue is the willingness of the general to negotiate. He doesn't have an axe to grind. The minister too couldn't do otherwise. I think the two parties, it's very easy, Edwin, having our football. I mean, the day we start living for our football and not on our football, things are so easy. Those parties have to come together, see how to kickstart the new season under the professional league, because the technical committee has to give way. There is no other way out of it. I think the two structures can even put their heads together, put a good calendar, put their experiences together, get the best ideas, and kickstart the season. It's so easy. I don't know why it's been so difficult. Like I said, the difficulty lies in who earns what, who runs what, who takes care of which budget. I think when people keep aside, I think the greatest discovery of the 20th century, that people can change the future by simply changing their attitudes.
Now, let us now try to look at since the minister is trying to negotiate now and the two parties must come together, what lessons can we be learning from this? But before we get there, I just want to know it. Apparently, the Momojoya presidency of FECAFOOD is still contested.
Yes, it's
and still at the level of the Court of Arbitration for Sports.
Exactly. It's still contested, and it's a sad tale. It's a sad tale because all of the energy that Seydou Mboumoundja could channel into developing football. I just want to say it here that having had several discussions with President Mboumoundja, I think he's a man who is endowed with a lot of good initiatives. He's got some ideas to prosper football. But the circumstances under which he came to power makes it very difficult for him to execute because he's got roadblocks all around him. And they're evident. They're self-evident. You know, you cannot have two rulings. You cannot lose two cases in 2 days with a third in the offing and probably a fourth. So that's also something I think and I feel this is what should be done. I'm glad that the sports minister brought together these two parties today to talk. I feel that the football fraternity in Cameroon needs to sit down. They should probably do the football dialogue or the football national dialogue, in Cameroon, for the football actors to sit down and really concert. Because since President Iya Mohammed went to jail, be it under President Tombi Aroko Sidiki and currently under President Seydou Mboumoundja, nothing good seems to come out of our football. You have people who clamor and who is willing to hear that they are the most experienced minds and that they have amazing initiatives, but these initiatives never come to fruition because there is division at every step of the ladder. If our football authorities, and I think that President Mboumoundja and luckily General Pierre Semenge, the fatherly figure, is willing to consider, I think that these two parties should come together. Sit down on a table.
That is not the foundation of Cameroon football is not stable.
If these two
because they are still challenging his presidency at the level of this international court, the Court of Arbitration and Sports.
Then I will blame FIFA. I will immediately tell you that I will blame FIFA. How many normalization committees have we had? And then if FIFA was there to monitor what those normalization committees were doing, we shouldn't have these problems today. Standardization means you get back to the rules and you follow the rules. So all along, it's giving us the impression that all the normalization committees for the last decade have failed. Honestly, they have failed. Because if you come to clean the house, put things in place,
and each time you come,
there's rubble around, it means you have not done
let's just go to an extreme decision. Somebody was proposing that Cameroon should pull out of FIFA, organize itself, we're going back there. What do you think about it?
Some countries have done that, but Cameroonians love their football. It is not for a few individuals. It is not for a few individuals that we should pull. Our football should crumble. You know what football has done to this country, 1,000 diplomats have not done.
You're right.
And it's a trademark. It's a Cameroonian trademark. We have to make Omar. We have to do everything, and we can do it. What is even difficult? You have set objectives. You define your objectives. You put in place the software, hardware, and you achieve your aim. I think it's only selfishness, damn selfishness, which has been
Gentlemen, we have barely 3 minutes to be together. I would like us to spend this time to look at the way forward, to draw the lessons and look at the way forward. I will start with you, Jeff Ngwa.
I think we should put the player at the heart of the activity. Yeah. The players are desperate people. When you hear the running costs, they are astronomical, whereas the player cannot fend on a daily basis for his family, especially those who ply the trade and depend on it for their livelihood. I think the first thing is to look at the status of the player, when they must have considered a basic salary for the different elite divisions. The money is there. And then you can see about the running costs and who does what. It's very easy. It's just the willingness to draw a roadmap, follow it strictly, with the professional football league playing its role, FECAFOOT playing its own role. The government has been injecting so much money into football to keep it alive. Why not use that money? FECAFOOT itself has had, how many World Cups have we organized? There are 4 of us.
For what results? What are the spin-offs? What are the spin-offs from hosting those World Cups? They're not visible.
The visible aspect may be only that the name Cameroon keeps on ringing. I mean, when you call Cameroon, you were talking about lessons we can learn and then the way forward.
Yeah, I will side entirely with what Jeff has said. We need people who are selfless, people who really want to toil for football. The talent is there. It is self-evident by the performances of the various national football teams, but we need people who come in and we need people who come in with a roadmap. Say, I want to be president of FECAFOOT for 8 years, for 2 mandates. This is what I promised to do. And at the end of the mandate, I need. If we have people who do that and who respect it, even those who are willing to kick you out, they'll say, okay, he has probably 2 more years. Let him finish, and then we'll take over. We need people who can come, sit together, and like Job said, put the players at the heart of the policy, because the players are the ones generating the revenue, but they do not benefit from it. Look at those playing in the top tier championship. Some of them are forced to do 2, 3 jobs. There are some championship players who are cab drivers. There are others who sell in bars. There are some of them who are shoe menders. It's a heart-wrenching scene to see in a country like Cameroon, where football is the king sport. If our football officials and our sports power brokers come together, sit down and think and plan for the future of Cameroonian football, I can tell you, Moki, with all the confidence in this world, that Cameroon should be playing a semi-final in the World Cup in the next 12 years, and that we should be dominating the continent inside out.
And a major, before I forget, Edwin, another major thing. One of our problems is most often those who run these things have not had any formal training. Sports management is a whole domain where you have professionals who are trained to manage sports. Most of the people you are my cousin. I pick you, I put there to draw the calendar. You have never had experience to draw any calendar. I think when we draft into professionals who know the job, who know what they are doing, it will solve some of these problems.
Cameroon will benefit from its football, and the players will live from their art, what they have learned to do. Eno Ebai, sports editor, CRTV, national station, thanks very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Moki.
Sports guru, thanks very much for coming.
Thanks for having
Jeff
me.
Ngwa.
It's always a pleasure having me.
The pleasure is ours, Jeff. It is exactly 7 o'clock in Yaoundé. Moving to the news with Nadia Amana. Bonsoir, Nadia.
Bienvenue à ce 19h sur CRTV News que nous ouvrons avec l'actualité politique. Appel à l'insurrection. La classe politique de la région du littoral condamne et demande aux populations de rester sourdes aux manœuvres de déstabilisation du Cameroun et de vaquer tranquillement à leurs occupations et surtout de se mobiliser autour de l'œuvre de construction nationale qui interpelle tous les fils et filles du Cameroun. Notre reporter Joseph Itote de CRTV Littoral a interviewé quelques-uns des acteurs politiques dans la ville de Douala.
Pour Banda Kani, président du nouveau mouvement populaire, l'État est un construit permanent. Il convoque d'ailleurs la loi fondamentale qui consacre la souveraineté du peuple camerounais.
L'intérêt général au Cameroun est garanti et est représenté par l'État, à la tête duquel se trouve le chef de l'État du Cameroun, son Excellence Paul Biya, qui a été élu par les Camerounais en 2018.
Avis corroboré par Abel Elimbilobé, acteur politique qui pense que la vie en société politique organisée ne s'accommode pas de l'anarchie.
C'est l'occasion pour moi d'appeler tous les Camerounais à ne pas suivre les mots d'ordre qui émanent des impénitents du mal.
Anissé Ikane, le président du Manidem, le mouvement africain pour la nouvelle indépendance et la démocratie, parle de l'irresponsabilité politique.
Un patriote qui aime son pays ne met pas ses ambitions personnelles au-dessus de l'intérêt général. Dans l'hymne national, nous chantons « Chère patrie, terre chérie, tu es notre seul et vrai bonheur ».
Les acteurs politiques de la région du littoral demandent aux populations de vaquer à leurs occupations sans état d'âme.
Parlons à présent de l'opération de maintien de la paix en République centrafricaine. Les 280 gendarmes camerounais des unités de police constituées, réquisitionnés pour cette mission, ont quitté le centre de perfectionnement d'Hawaï pour la RCA ce matin. Déploiement dans le cadre de la mission multidimensionnelle intégrée des Nations Unies pour la stabilisation de ce pays. À ce contingent, il a été demandé de veiller à la discipline et au respect des consignes de la hiérarchie de l'armée. Pierre Evembe nous en dit plus.
C'est le grand départ pour les unités de police constituées depuis le centre de perfectionnement en technique de maintien de l'ordre de la gendarmerie d'Hawaï dans la Mefoua Famba. 280 Pandores entraînés ici pendant 3 mois pour devenir des soldats des Nations Unies dans la sélective MINUSCA. La liste a affiché complet, tous négatifs au Covid-19 et purifiés pour débarquer avec un esprit pur à boire et bangui leur zone de compétence dans ce pays frère, la Centrafrique, habitué à compter sur le Cameroun dans ces périodes de crise qu'il traverse. Leurs missions sont claires. Primo, protéger les civils. Secondo, veiller sur les personnels des Nations Unies ainsi que les infrastructures. Tertio, soutenir la police locale dans ses missions régaliennes. Et c'est dans ce cadre que le 7e contingent camerounais va intervenir lors des élections prochaines dans ce pays. Une tâche lourde et délicate qui fonctionnera si et seulement si les consignes données par le ministre Joseph Bétia Somo au centre de prédéploiement de Moutieboum et relayées au béret rouge par le secrétaire d'État à la Défense Galax Toga sont respectées à la lettre. Et c'est ce qui a été rappelé ici aux 24 femmes et 156 hommes chauffés à bloc. C'est dans une quinzaine de gros porteurs que les ambassadeurs de la paix du Cameroun vont faire flotter le drapeau de leur pays à la mission multidimensionnelle intégrée des Nations Unies pour la stabilisation de la Centrafrique.
Courage à nos soldats dans cette nouvelle mission. Parlons à présent de l'année scolaire 2021. Le ministère de l'Éducation de base peaufine sa stratégie pour cette année particulière marquée par la pandémie du Covid-19. Une concertation s'est ouverte ce jour à Yaoundé pour faire le bilan de l'année scolaire écoulée et passer en revue les programmes majeurs. Il était également question de sensibiliser sur le respect des mesures barrières édictées par le gouvernement et l'Organisation mondiale de la santé. Notre reporter Joël Igor Abanda a assisté aux travaux. Regardons.
De concertation participe de l'auto-évaluation des 4 programmes majeurs de l'éducation de base que sont l'universalisation du cycle primaire, l'alphabétisation, l'appui au développement du préscolaire, la gouvernance et l'appui institutionnel. Entre autres objectifs spécifiques de cette rencontre, il est question de sensibiliser les responsables des services centraux et déconcentrés sur le respect des 13 mesures barrières édictées par le gouvernement camerounais afin de lutter contre la propagation de la pandémie à Covid-19 dans les écoles maternelles et primaires.
Si pour faire face à lui, nous avons eu 1,5 million d'élèves qui étaient dans les classes d'examen, à la rentrée prochaine du 5 octobre, nous aurons affaire à 6 millions d'élèves dans le primaire. Il faudrait que les mesures barrières soient globalement respectées.
Les travaux en plénière et en atelier portent donc sur de nouvelles orientations pour un déroulement harmonieux de l'année scolaire 2020-2021 à l'éducation de base.
Construction routière au Cameroun, les maires des chefs-lieux de région et le Madjeni étaient en conclave ce jour à Yaoundé pour la présentation d'un procédé innovant dans la réalisation des infrastructures d'assainissement routier en béton armé. Avec cette nouvelle méthode, les routes seront plus fiables et plus durables, nous dit Gaël Obono.
Les cas de rupture de la circulation pour cause de la détérioration des buses métalliques sont le quotidien des populations. Pour pallier ce problème, le Parc national de matériel de génie civil, dans le cadre de ses nouvelles missions dans le secteur des bâtiments des travaux publics, propose un procédé de fabrication d'ouvrages en béton armé, la buse en béton armé.
Les coûts que nous proposons sont accessibles parce qu'ils sont beaucoup moins que les coûts des dallos. Et en plus de cette économie sur l'ouvrage lui-même, vous économisez sur la déviation, vous économisez sur la déviation en circulation, vous économisez sur la déviation du cours d'eau. Donc c'est quelque chose de bénéfique et les mairies devraient se saisir de cette opportunité pour qu'on ne mette plus des buses en acier sur nos axes routiers.
Il est donc essentiel de sensibiliser les maires sur la réduction de l'utilisation des buses métalliques, faciles à installer mais qui ne résistent pas à l'eau.
La commune de Yoko, en général, et de manière particulière, et toutes les communes du centre vont se mettre à la disposition du Madjeni pour que dans les prochains jours, nous n'ayons plus de problèmes de la gestion, de la traversée des cours d'eau.
La buse en béton armé est donc une solution peu coûteuse, rapide à mettre en place, qui sera mise à la disposition des mairies pour le bien-être des populations.
Dépister gratuitement au moins 5000 jeunes au VIH-Sida, c'est l'ambition que se fixe l'opération Vacances sans Sida dans la région de l'extrême nord. Pour cette 18e édition, le gouverneur Midi Yawa Bakari a recommandé de mettre à profit les pères éducateurs pour sensibiliser le maximum de personnes. Notre reporter Lionel Minguet de CRTV Extrême Nord a les détails.
Avec un taux de prévalence de 3,2%, les jeunes de l'extrême nord de la tranche d'âge 15 à 24 ans sont les plus affectés par le VIH-Sida. Ils constituent donc la cible de cette édition de la campagne Vacances sans Sida.
Au cours de cette campagne particulière, nous allons également mener des activités de sensibilisation et de dépistage dans les différentes zones, que ce soit urbaines ou rurales de l'extrême nord, afin de dépister, afin de sensibiliser les jeunes sur ces problèmes de santé que sont le VIH et la Covid-19.
Concrètement, il s'agit de connaître le statut sérologique d'au moins 5000 jeunes et 5000 autres supplémentaires au Covid-19. D'où l'appel à la mobilisation générale du gouverneur Midi Yawa Bakari.
Maintenant que nous avons du matériel à portée des mains, il est donc question pour chacun d'aller savoir qui il est, savoir son statut sérologique. C'est très important.
Selon le groupe technique régional de lutte contre le sida, la région de l'extrême nord est la moins touchée par la pandémie avec un taux de prévalence de 1,1%.
Parlons à présent de la protection de l'environnement. La problématique du changement climatique et ses conséquences était au cœur de la conférence de l'Académie des sciences du Cameroun ce jeudi au ministère de la Recherche scientifique et de l'Innovation. Le rendez-vous réunissant d'éminents scientifiques se greffe à l'actualité dominée par la résurgence des inondations dans nos cités. Des propositions palliatives ont été avancées dans la perspective de leur application par les décideurs. Notre reporter Eric Laouna a le compte rendu.
Des scènes apocalyptiques qui auparavant s'observaient à travers le petit écran. Désormais, c'est en acteur et les pieds dans l'eau que la froideur de ces affres sont ressenties par le commun des Camerounais. Garantir un scénario au dénouement heureux, c'est l'objectif de l'Académie des sciences du Cameroun.
L'Académie se penche sur cette situation depuis 1995 et nous avons organisé des séminaires, des ateliers sur le changement climatique et ses conséquences néfastes et les possibilités de mitigation.
La mission de sursis de l'équipage Cameroun impose une bouée de sauvetage taillée sur mesure.
Avec l'apparition du plastique qui est devenu notre maître mot, ces éléments réduisent les canalisations d'évacuation des eaux et ça rend obsolètes les formules de dimensionnement, les formules d'hydrologie urbaine, les formules d'évacuation, de drainage qui étaient jusqu'alors appliquées.
L'implémentation de ces pistes de solutions par les décideurs, au-delà d'être une nécessité, sonne comme une urgence. Les minutes s'égrènent, il faut sauver la planète.
Hors de nos frontières, au Mali, la junte se dit favorable à une transition menée par un militaire, une décision que ne partage pas la communauté des États de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Depuis le coup d'État du 18 août dernier, la CEDEAO avait imposé un embargo et des sanctions économiques au Mali. Le pays se retrouve donc totalement isolé du reste des États membres de la CEDEAO et son économie déjà fragilisée par le contexte de crise sécuritaire et sociale devrait être fortement paralysée. Les conséquences de cet embargo, c'est avec Adèle Sylviane Calgar.
10% des produits manufacturés consommés au Mali sont importés. Avec la suspension des flux financiers, les conséquences pourraient être catastrophiques pour l'économie malienne.
Le Mali sera forcément impacté dans sa vie économique. C'est le peuple qui a avancé dans cette révolution. Sauf que les sanctions économiques retombent premièrement sur le peuple malien, qui pourtant aspirait à un changement et à une prospérité de son pays. J'aurais préféré que l'on procède à des sanctions ciblées contre la junte qui est en train aujourd'hui de parler au nom du peuple malien, qui ne lui a pas demandé d'arriver jusqu'à peut-être ce coup d'État.
Aussi, les transferts des Maliens de l'extérieur vers leur pays vont ralentir considérablement. L'embargo ne concerne cependant pas les denrées de première nécessité comme le carburant, l'électricité, les médicaments, des produits dont la pénurie impacterait directement la vie des populations.
Mali que nous refermons ce 19h. Nous vous laissons en compagnie de Moki Edwin Kinzeka pour la suite de Twilight. Bonne suite, Moki.
Well, thank you, Nadia. We shall be having the last part of the program today, which is going to be our supplement, and it's today on the society with Clara de Maraps. That will be after this break.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.
Très heureuse de vous retrouver pour ce nouveau numéro de Carré Social. À la une, lutte contre les maladies prostatiques au Cameroun, une campagne de dépistage de ces maladies.
Comment se faire détecter? Ça signifie qu'à partir de 40 ans, pour des sujets dont un membre de la famille a eu à développer un cancer, il est préférable de passer voir un médecin. Les causes peuvent être multiples.
La couleur verte est la couleur la plus présente dans la nature, n'est-ce pas? On l'associe à l'espoir et à la chance.
Toujours ce 17 novembre, le monde célèbre la journée mondiale du souvenir de la circulation routière. Placée sous le thème « La vie n'est pas une pièce de rechange de véhicule ».
This time around, we are going to take you to Boya in the southwest region, where Minister Paul Tangenji was there.
Les élections auront bel et bien lieu le 9 février prochain. Ça a été dit dans la communication gouvernementale.
La question du statut spécial n'est pas à l'ordre du jour dans ce contexte, parce qu'il est d'abord question pour le gouvernement, pour l'État du Cameroun, de doter ces deux régions de représentants.
Après avoir dressé un tableau de la situation sécuritaire dont les points préoccupants restent le sud-ouest, le nord-ouest et l'extrême nord, Joseph Bétier Assommo a exhorté ses collaborateurs à élaborer un plan qui puisse garantir un déroulement serein de ces deux grands moments de la vie de la nation.
6th of November 1982, 37 years after, we're concerned with what the New Deal has achieved over the years.
CRTV News, nothing but the news.
The 2020-2021 academic year is at the corner, and the results of the baccalaureate examination have been released. Those of the GC advanced level will be released also very soon. It's always difficult for students who are going to universities to choose between what university and what professional institution they want to attend. That is the subject our reporter Clara de Maraps is going to discuss with our guest and the Society Supplements for the day. Our guest Donald Beria, who is a guidance counselor, will give advice on how students who are going to university can make choices between the universities that are in the country and professional institutions that also offer training.
Par rapport au choix d'orientation du supérieur, il faut noter que c'est un problème vraiment sérieux dans notre environnement scolaire et universitaire. Comme conseil, moi, qu'est-ce que je peux dire aux nouveaux bacheliers? Ils doivent se poser 4 questions principalement avant de choisir une filière ou une faculté. Première question, qu'est-ce que je sais faire? Deuxième question, qu'est-ce que je peux faire? Troisième question, qu'est-ce que j'ai envie de faire ou bien qu'est-ce que j'aime faire? Et la dernière question qui n'est pas à négliger, ils doivent se poser la question, est-ce que les ressources financières de mes parents ou mes propres ressources peuvent m'aider à suivre la formation que je veux suivre? Pour le choix d'orientation, généralement, nous, les conseillers d'orientation, nous travaillons en amont. Ça veut dire depuis la terminale, nous nous entretenons avec les enfants. Et nous avons un certain nombre de mesures que nous mettons en place pour les aider à choisir. Par exemple, nous avons les tests psychotechniques. En terminale, par exemple, on passe le test du QIP, le questionnaire d'intérêt professionnel, pour aider l'élève à choisir un métier qui correspond à ses aspirations. À côté de cela, on a également des entretiens d'aide pour aider l'élève à choisir. Parce que c'est l'élève doit choisir en fonction de ses aspirations pour pouvoir s'en sortir. Parce que ceux qui se retrouvent en Wekele ou à soi parce qu'ils ont à soi par exemple parce qu'il a un baccalauréat A, qui a dit à cet étudiant-là qu'il pouvait s'en sortir par exemple en allant faire droit? Le baccalauréat A n'est pas prédisposé au droit ou à soi. Il faut donc absolument qu'un conseiller d'orientation intervienne pour aider celui-là à faire un choix. Ils doivent également noter que il n'y a pas de grandes facultés, il n'y a pas de grandes filières. Tout ce qu'ils doivent comprendre, comme ce que je dis souvent à mes apprenants, c'est que c'est ce qu'on fait de son diplôme qui compte, la mise en valeur de son diplôme, c'est ce qui est important. Déjà, il faut noter que le tout n'est pas au niveau de vouloir faire. Tout le monde veut bien faire quelque chose. La grande question, c'est est-ce que je peux le faire? C'est d'où vient le problème. On peut vouloir peut-être s'inscrire dans une autre faculté, autre que les facultés classiques, comme vous avez dit. Mais est-ce que j'ai les capacités de le faire? Donc tout, c'est dans la capacité, les aptitudes, les intérêts. Donc il faut se rassurer au préalable qu'on a les aptitudes requises pour suivre la formation qu'on veut suivre. L'orientation est un processus. Et la loi d'orientation de l'éducation de 1998 dit que l'orientation intervient à tous les niveaux d'études, c'est-à-dire l'orientation doit commencer à partir du primaire. Normalement, au primaire, on doit avoir déjà des conseillers d'orientation. Au secondaire, on doit avoir des conseillers d'orientation. Au supérieur, on doit avoir des conseillers d'orientation. Donc l'orientation est un processus qui suit l'enfant depuis l'école primaire jusqu'à ce qu'il ait un projet professionnel. parce que c'est une orientation scolaire, universitaire et professionnelle. Les conseillers d'orientation sont des psychologues à la base. Ça veut dire que nous œuvrons aussi pour l'accompagnement des élèves, même déjà dans les lycées même. Quand un élève a un problème d'ordre psychologique, comportemental ou relationnel, notre rôle est de l'aider à surmonter ce problème-là. Donc nous intervenons aussi pour les problèmes psychologiques. Pour choisir, pour finir, ce que je peux donner comme conseil à nos futurs étudiants, c'est de ne pas faire des choix par suivisme. On ne choisit pas une filière parce que mon ami a décidé de faire telle filière, moi aussi je vais aller faire telle filière. Non. Il faut choisir la filière où vous sentez que vous pouvez vous en sortir. Parce que l'objectif, c'est de s'en sortir. On n'aimerait pas avoir des étudiants qui vont s'inscrire en Ngouekele cette année. Il est bloqué en Ngouekele, il va aller s'inscrire à Soa, après il va aller à Tchang. Non, ce n'est pas le suivisme. Chacun choisit ce qu'il veut faire. Donc, comme conseil, je demanderais à nos futurs étudiants de faire une introspection, de voir ce qu'ils veulent faire vraiment. La seule personne dans le paysage éducatif qui peut aider un enfant à faire son choix d'orientation, c'est le conseiller d'orientation. Nous sommes là pour ça. Maintenant, si le parent juge que son enfant peut faire telle ou telle formation, il doit normalement se rapprocher du conseiller d'orientation, échanger avec le conseiller d'orientation. Ensemble, donc, le conseiller d'orientation, le parent et l'enfant, nous allons trouver la voie la plus adéquate pour l'enfant. Parce que vous pouvez exiger, demander à votre enfant de suivre une formation où il n'est pas à l'aise. Là, il ne sera jamais diplômé. Donc, il faut que l'enfant choisisse librement.
That was a supplement with Yves Donald Ribgar advising students who want to go to universities to go through guidance counselors who will be able to give them some orientation and some advice on which courses they can take depending on the fields they want to specialize at. That is where we end today's edition of Twilight on CRTV News. I am Moki Edwin Kinzika in Yaoundé. Thank you for watching.